Besties by Caitlin, we spilling the tea. From Bravo to pop culture, got opinions for free. White refrigerator by wig, we scream. It's all happening like a mid-season dream. That's my opinion, yeah, I said what I said. Shady confessional, glam toast to my head. Champagne and tea, pour up the truth. Reality bites and we came with the proof. We're all besties here, no lies, no filter. Reading these shows like a guilty pleasure scripture. Cameras up and the drama for days. Hit play now to hear what your besties gotta say. I'm not really sure what I've done to you. I'm not really sure what I've done to you. I'm not really sure what I've done to you. But I'll take a Pinot Grigio. I'm not really sure what I've done to you.
Hi, besties. Thank you for joining today. It is Thursday, July 24th. And if you were watching on YouTube, you got the new intro, and I hope you guys like the new song. What do you think? I know it's kind of cheesy, but I was like, let's make this a bop. Okay. And I felt like we did. Had to tie in some Bravo. Okay. Yeah, it is official. The podcast is no longer Besties by Bravo. It is Besties by Caitlin, but we're still mostly covering Bravo. Okay. I just feel like we needed to not pigeonhole ourselves. We're besties, we're multifaceted. You know what I mean? How has your week been? I am still dealing with this yellow jacket sting, and it's not just PTSD. It is not mental. Y'all tell me, have you been stung by one? Because I think it must have gotten me multiple times. It is, I don't think it's infected. What a great podcast opening with, well, I don't think I am infected in my leg, but I will say that it is red and itching again if any heat comes near it. So that's fun. That's real fun. It's kind of reminding me of Jax Taylor. Everything about him feels infected. Anywho, wow. So some news that it seems that Michelle and her boyfriend Aaron broke up. She removed all of his stuff from her profile grid, her Instagram grid, and she unfollowed him. And then I heard that he broke up with her. Makes me sad, you know. I was glad to see that she, Aaron, Jesse were kind of making it work there, getting along, figuring it out for that precious, gorgeous little Isabella. Yeah, I do want a little housekeeping. So I have a wonderful human who might be coming on board of the, we're going to call it Besties Inc. Okay. It's actually the LLC is Besties Limited, but close enough. And because y'all know, I have been not just up to my eyeballs, I have been over my head and in the deep end lately with trying to keep up with everything. So, Lexi is her name. She is so sweet. She's wonderful so far. I'm really enjoying what she's been bringing to the table, and that is how we are getting some help bringing out the back end of the Secret Lives of Mormon Wives season 2. I know it is so late, but there is so much, and I'm not just teasing y'all. The amount of information I have now gathered about everything that went down, not everything, but a lot of things that went down that season that will be coming up this next season, I am going to be able to give you so much more than I could have when it came out. So I am telling you, you are going to want to listen. I do believe it is next week I should be able to record them. Now, don't get mad at me. I've been having to tell everyone this. Don't get mad at me. I am getting sculpture done tomorrow, and I am freaking terrified because of the swelling. It's not filler. I'm not trying. I don't want to look like a different person. I just want, to slow things down. I put my face in front of my freaking camera all the time, and so I have to see it more than any normal person should. So, I may not be on video next week, but I will absolutely be on audio because there is nothing that could keep my jaw from working overtime. And now that sounds disgusting. Okay, should we get into this Valley finale? Gosh, it rhymes. The Valley finale. Yeah, I think we should because I have so many notes and this is going to be a long one. So buckle up, get ready, pay attention to the road, get your workout on, the cleaning, whatever it is you are doing. Here we go. Okay, my friends. So we're starting off with Janet, Michelle, and Brittany going over to Lala's house to meet Lala's new baby girl, Sosa. And I gotta say, Lala gives me a complex when it comes to how she looks immediately after giving birth. I mean, no wonder this genetically gifted biatch is like, yeah, okay, let me just have some more. Like, if I looked like that immediately after, had help, and had the money, baby, I would have as many as I could. So the girls are giving her a rundown of Hawaii, and Sosa is giving the other girls baby fever, even though Janet has one. She has a little baby. Brittany tells them about going off on Jax and his whole BS of telling her he'll go after her for alimony if he is forced to pay half of his own child's medical bills. I swear to God, you little antichrist wannabe. You wish you're not even good enough to be the antichrist, Jax. The antichrist is supposed to at least be charming. Lala, she goes, sorry, y'all, you can hate on her all you want, but she can be funny, okay? Leave me alone. She looks at Brittany and she goes, well, yeah, you make more money because addiction is expensive. I suggest you give it up. That is a luxury you cannot afford. Oh, I'm sorry, because of pasta addiction. Didn't want to drop the full word. Anyway, Brittany makes a point that I can't believe I didn't even consider in all of this, which is that until Jax is submitting drug tests, Cruz can't go over to his condo. And I'm calling it a condo forever now, since he seemed to end up being very hung up on it being a townhouse, not a condo. So it's a condo now. Anyway, because it could be laying around, the residue from the substances could be left on surfaces, and even the tiniest amount could be fatal for that precious tiny boy. I'm smacking myself as a mom for not even thinking of that specifically right away, because Brittany was saying, before she would be good about putting it away. My God, how could you even let that be in the house with your little one? I'm not trying to ream her a new one, because I don't even know how you handle that, but Lala asks Brittany if she at least had fun in Hawaii, and she says, yeah, but looks at Janet and just straight up goes, they did not like you, Janet. Okay, that was a rough way to deliver that, but she already knows that, so it's okay. But it's explained to Lala that it's Kristen, Zach, and Luke that are so angry with Janet telling Lala about Kristen, saying, sorry, I got to put my blah face. She called me a whore. She threatened to beat me up. She called me a fan. I was like, I would love for you to hit me. I would love nothing more than for jail to take away your engagement ring for the night and put it in a little plastic baggie while you sit in a cell for punching me in the face. Oh, Janet, for crying out loud. Are you serious right now? It is just above and beyond. And it is not the read that you think it is. You are talking to Lala Kent. She is going to be like, okay, good one, Janet. Wow. Mhm. She then thinks she's so funny and cute, saying that she hopes every time Kristen looks at her ring, she sees a reflection of her. And see, Janet, this is why no one wanted to include you in that shit, because you are such a dickhead. Damn it. You're not supposed to curse 10 minutes in on YouTube, but I already have. We're only 8 minutes in. Oops. Sorry, YouTube. Oopsie. Okay, anywho, our editors had a lot of fun with editing this episode, in case you haven't noticed. And great, we're at Jax's condo, getting a scene with Jax. Luke has been knocking and ringing the doorbell with no answer, but Jason shows up and has to help him just go on in. Jax still hasn't put everything together, but he says in confessional he doesn't want to call it a bachelor pad, even though that's what it is, because the only difference is there's a child's room upstairs. And, well, I don't know how many bachelor pads have 4 flights of stairs, because at least bachelors consider the fact that if they're bringing a female home, she will be in high heels most likely, especially the type of girls that Jax is bringing home. And there's nothing wrong with girls in high heels going home with anyone, but still, be considerate, Jaxhole. Anywho, he shows them Cruz's room because he wants them to report back to Brittany that he has the room put together for him. Yes, you did put together a bed and some signs, and you got him some Amazon bedding. He needs clothes, Jax, and you need to baby proof everything, you moron. In confessional, Jax thinks this 4-story condo is better than his actual house. No, sorry. I would take the home they had over this in a heartbeat, and I would sage that home, though. Call a shaman, an exorcist, a priest. I mean, hell, let's call the Vatican at this point because your demonic energy needs to be exorcised from that home. It's now Luke, Jesse, Jason, Jackson Schwartz, who is holding the purse puppy he shares custody of with Katie. I think it's Butter. But anyway, Jack starts telling them about Brittany, quote unquote, screaming at him at the house the other day. And his version is truly something to behold. But he makes it a whole thing that, well, she's like messing with his head by then texting him pictures of the yard and the flowers at the house, asking him questions. She's talking to you about plants, you doofus Magoo, not her lily. He says that Luke had come up with the idea of having a shared camera placed in Cruz's room while he stays with him, which I personally do still think is a fantastic idea. Jesse reminds him he needs baby gates for the 4 flights of stairs in his condo. Anyway, I could be a menace to Jax Taylor. I will be. Luke tells him that, yeah, it's a good olive branch, but that Brittany's issues with Jax having Cruz has more to do with his lifestyle and partying and the extracurriculars. He tries to skirt around having to say, Coca-Cola that doesn't come in a can or have diet sugar-free options, but I think we all know. Someone asks Jax where Danny is, by the way, and Jax says this in a manner that feels legitimately so performative in this anger he's trying to portray. And it's very much like, ooh, this is a sick burn. Get ready, guys. Jax Hole Taylor has a sick burn. He just goes, I'm serving alcohol here, so I can't invite Danny. Okay. He thought he had a lot of sick burns this episode. And okay. Thing is, Jax, Ted Bundy, Jeffrey Dahmer, none of them were known for being all that funny. So it fits. This prompts Luke to ask what Jax's actual issue is with Danny, because also, bro, you haven't even been around in the last month. Jax claims Danny is two-faced, saying that Nia has called him 5 times screaming about where is Danny, and that she's come into the bar screaming at Danny that she told him not to behave this way. I'm so sure. He claims that his business partners had to pull him aside and tell him that if Danny keeps up the behavior and consumption style of alcohol, they're afraid they'll get sued. But his issue is when Danny will come to him the next day telling him what he needs to do in order to help things be in a better place with his own wife. But see, those 2 things are somewhat exclusive because Danny has, for the most part, from what we know, okay, a good relationship with his own wife. Like I said, from what we've seen. And while the alcohol consumption is going to be a part of what harms his own relationship with his wife, it's not even remotely the same as what Jax has been pulling. And I am not defending the behavior that we have been made aware of on Danny's end when it comes to drinking alcohol. That is absolutely not. Hard stop. Inexcusable. Now, at the same time, what Jax does, he does sober and under the influence. So, okay, anyway, Jax then adds that while Danny will be giving him counsel as a friend, he's thinking, you were feeling up girls the other day at my bar. And I don't believe it's a plural from what I understand, which doesn't make it better or okay, like what he did, but I'm just saying. In confessional, Jason thinks that what is getting Jax so riled up is that Jax has made mistakes. Excuse me, sir. You are not his attorney. Those were more than just mistakes. Those were problems. Those were choices. Those were behavioral patterns, not mistakes. Okay. Patterns of abuse, in my opinion, allegedly. Okay. Happy. Anyway, but that, yeah. He thinks it's the problem is that Jax's problems are discussed amongst the group, and that when Danny makes mistakes and it's brought up in the group, the people bringing it up get attacked. I mean, Sort of. Sort of. I think it's more about who is bringing it up and how, and the fact that they weren't present for those mistakes. Janet. 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 Anyway, Luke tells them that when he had lunch with Danny the other day, he said he hadn't had alcohol in 3 weeks and that Danny was not even drinking when they were in Hawaii. But Jax doesn't believe that. And it's because Jax knows he can't go those 3 weeks without drinking or using something at this point in time if he's not stuck in a facility. So he can't fathom someone else making that choice and sticking to it. But but Luke points out these multiple times that Danny is being left out of things with the guys in the group. And now Jax is going to go off on a monologue. And, it's less Confucius and more confusing. Okay. So he says, look, we've all effed up. I mean, look what I've done, but take accountability for what you've done and don't preach onto others what you have done until you have right your rights and wrong your wrongs. And there's kind of a script. They have to help Jax use his big boy words. So finally, he figures it out with some help and he continues with right your wrongs, whatever it is. You can't come and preach to people unless you have an effing clean slate. And you know what, Schwartz? I forgot you were there and you still piss me off quite often, but the Valley makes you very likable. And he just kind of goes, oh, live, laugh, love. Because is Jax going to try and make merch from this now too? Don't come and preach to people unless you have an effing clean slate. Right your rights and wrong your wrongs. Make sure you put it in that cute little live, laugh, love font, though. Put it on a hoodie. Michelle goes to Jesse's house because Jesse feels like there is a lot of resolution between them in Hawaii and they're going to have a conversation. And Jesse does conclude in confessional that Michelle has been guarded with him, understandably though, and that the time in Hawaii chipped away bit by bit at that. Jesse tells Michelle he feels as though they were able to get to a better place during Hawaii because we see a flashback. This makes this news of allegedly the breakup even more sad, but of Jesse telling Michelle and Aaron that after his talk with Aaron, he told him he was really happy for him when he said he was in love with Michelle. I think Jesse, unfortunately, just needed to hear someone other than the person he was married to and in a serious committed relationship for how long say that she and Aaron were not doing anything while they were married. And now he'll believe her. Okay. He needed a man to tell him. F you, Jesse, for that one. But she tells him she wants to believe that he's making these changes and having the epiphany he's claiming, but she can't quite trust him, especially after calling her names like a prostitution whore and then expecting things to just be completely fine afterward. But Jesse has reached the point that he is just too exhausted of all of the drama between them and is relinquishing all control. Good boy, Jesse. He's getting super emotional. And she tells him she feels like he thinks this divorce is her fault and that that's something that makes her very upset. But okay, Jesse, you're winning me back over. He tells her it's not her fault, but that it's their fault and takes full accountability for his own actions that put pressure on their relationship. Wow. Okay. Wow. Wow, Jesse. She's clearly touched by it and is going to keep a bit of an arm's length with him on this, but it's baby steps, okay? And I'm loving to see this progress where they end in a hug and it's going to get better considering he has said on the after show that they're in a much better place now. So I'm happy to see this because it was just nasty before. We find out Michelle will be having a den party. And the editors are killing me with this. You guys, stop it. We get a flashback of her telling Aaron about it. And he looks quite startled. Imagine that. And he's just like, love it. That's a great idea. Love that so much. It's fantastic. Why am I sweating? I'm so nervous. Are you nervous? Or is it just all the pasta I did today? Is there pasta and honey? Oh my God. I'm scared. Anyway, the translation to me when he said this was, God damn it, I'm startled. I have to go somewhere in public with you and these people. Jesse does cut to the chase when he finds out about the Zen party, though, because he needs to know exactly what the attire is, babe. What am I wearing? What's the dress code? Is it semi-formal, semi-casual, casual, formal? Is it black tie? Is it optional? What am I wearing, babe? Most important part for him, of course. We're now over at the Cartwrights house because Brittany has gotten a new front doormat that says the Cartwrights instead of the Couchies. See, if anyone needed to know where you live, now they don't have to question. Brittany, baby girl, you are a public figure. You don't need to have your name there. Put it inside. Put it inside. Put it inside. Anyway, she's really trying to completely wipe Jax's existence from her home. And Kristen shows up, and this whole scene just breaks my heart completely. But it is such a beautiful thing to know we have the happy ending for Kristen and Luke here. Okay. So let's bear that in mind. But essentially, she and Luke had gotten their respective fertility units checked out. And when she did, she was prescribed medications that she had to look up and saw infertility associated with all of them. And because, anyone who tries for over a year to get pregnant, they are then considered to be experiencing infertility. And really, Kristen was just like, this makes me feel like a geriatric infertile asshole. And it kills me for her. Kristen is stressed about having to consider doing IUI or IVF. And Brittany gives her good advice here that she needs to try her hardest just not to get hung up on how she's getting pregnant, but just focus on the getting pregnant. And you know what? Thank God the IUI worked for her. And you're welcome to you YouTube asshole who commented, I'm getting your facts straight. Fuck off. Anyway, so Kristen concludes this is bigger for her than anything she's been going through during the summer, and she does not give a shit about Janet or anyone else. Benji and Zach go to dinner, and their server is a fellow gay and is hilarious. He's like, okay, so I love that. What do you want? Cool. Glad you guys are in a happy fucking couple. Bye. But they're set up at like this tiny coffee table. So bizarre. Anywho, apparently the Canadian court has scheduled Benji's divorce to be on Zach's birthday. And Benji tells him that it was actually his ex who wanted the divorce and Benji still loved him. So it took, like over the course of a year for those feelings to fade for him. But good. They're gone. Sounds like. Benji's just so sweet and chill, it seems like, which is good for Zach. He kind of needs that balance there. Zach is seeing wedding bells in the future for them. So that's cute. And he tries to tell him it hurt his feelings that he didn't notice his Botox. Ew. Like also, I don't know. Would that not make things not as enjoyable? Because the Botox in my forehead, I can't feel or move. So anyway, he moves on to Janet and how sick he is of her and how he feels like Brittany just brushes things off when it comes to Janet and really just won't see Janet's behavior as the shitty behavior that it is. So he feels like he's just going to have a talk with Brittany, so that they can progress in their friendship. And he feels that really at the end of the day, he would never be doing or moving, I should say, the way Brittany is in all of this when it comes to Janet, because he would want to be there for Brittany and have Brittany's back in the way that she's not doing that for him. Wow. Just so you know, I want to make this clear. We are on page 7 of my notes. Do you know how many there are? 20 pages. This whole thing was the goddamn Zen party. Oh my gosh. So everyone's getting ready for it. The girlies are getting glams and all of that. Michelle and Aaron go to Yamashiro to set it all up. And she tells us that that's her happy place because growing up, they'd go there as a family. And it's a special place considering her mother is very sick. And it's, just like all in the family for her. And her mother being sick has really given her a different view of life going through this with her. I mean, truly, I can't even imagine. So that's too much to be going through at the same time. Everyone's arriving and we get the slow-mo shots like, oh, I look so cool. But Michelle gathers everyone around in a circle and she truly to me seems as though she does not enjoy public speaking. But apparently she's a big believer in crystals and just grew up that way. So she picked out crystals for each person and wrote them each a little note. And she notes that if she and Jesse can now get along, then anyone in this group can. Of course, in confessional, Jack's ass has to yuck her yum by saying, ugh, I don't believe in any of that shit. I don't believe in stars. I don't believe in crystals. I don't believe in astrology. I don't believe in reading palms. I don't believe in any of that shit. It's all garbage. Oh my God, that makes you like so cool, Jax. Oh my God, you're like the coolest. You don't believe in manifesting and crystals. Oh my God, it's so freaking badass of you. How's that working out for you? Anywho, we each read our notes, each person. And when it gets to Brittany, where it says, I know you will start your new beginning and find true love someday. And Jax is all pissy about that. But, sir, what you gave her was not love. It was straight up poison. You know, as everyone reads their notes, it just kind of feels like Michelle went in Chat GPT and was like, hey, Chat GPT, this is what this person's going through, and this person, and this person, and this person. This is what's wrong with this person. Can you write fortune cookies for each of them and give them an affirmation? Thank you so much. You know, just drying up our water supply one fortune cookie at a time. Jax tells Luke he's good. Oh my gosh, that he's good to take a shot because he hasn't had a drink in, oh man, let's see. Gosh, it's been a whole hour. 1 whole hour. Okay. So let's just take some shots then. And now that he's good and buzzed, he decides it's time to pull Brittany aside for a chat to bring up that he had an idea with Luke to get a universal camera so that she could look in on Cruz whenever he has them. And she's like, yeah, that's a great idea when we get to that point. But she doesn't want any more of the other cameras bullshit happening. And he's like, well, I don't care what you do. And she clocks that and she's like, oh, really? Okay, motherfucker. Okay. Because honestly, at this point, it's becoming so sickening and he is not entertaining to me whatsoever. There's nothing interesting about this. It's just infuriating. He goes on to grab his mini violin. He found it. Here it is, right here. Tiny little thing right next to his face. I guess what hurts me the most is you did this divorce thing while I was in rehab. You never even gave me a shot. Oh, okay. I'm sorry. She never even gave you a shot. Okay. Okay. I have a feeling she had to give you a new shot every week, 5 times a week. Now she explains that she knew after just meeting with the attorney and having to revisit all the messages he was sending her that if she didn't do it right then, she'd be screwed when he got out. Because after she would end up seeing him again every day, she knew she wouldn't be able to follow through with it. He's playing that violin as hard and as fast as he can by saying she called him every name in the book. Oh, fuck you, Jax. You've done worse. Excuse me. Only to text him pictures of flowers and everything the next day talking about the yard. She was talking to you about the yard. Oh my God. She did not ask you to plant seeds in her garden. Anyway, her excuse, though, is that she wanted to prove to him that she could handle and take care of that house by herself. Girl, no, that's not it either. You don't need to prove anything to him. Move in silence. Who gives a shit about proving anything to him? Why, Brittany? Why? No, forget it. He'll see it when you're still there. He claims it's not about taking care of the house he didn't think she could handle, but the finances, and says she'll be able to see that over time. And yes, Brittany snaps, good girl, because she reminds him that it's because of him that he should be thanking her instead of treating her this way, that the house became so expensive. And we did find out, I'm sorry, I jumped, but we did find out in confessional, it was 7 months he didn't pay the mortgage. I don't know how they were able to keep their home. I don't even want to know how much Brittany had to pay from the depths of her soul in order to keep that home for herself and her child. Now they argue about him thinking it suddenly was the best thing he could do for her and Cruz while he was in rehab. to only then give them the house. She has to give his memory a little jolt by telling him he put her and Cruz in a very difficult situation with her Airbnb hopping. And I cannot imagine how expensive that shit was, because I don't care what anyone says. Airbnb is more expensive than going to a hotel. Thank you so much. You should only ever do Airbnb if you are going with a big group. Otherwise, F that. Okay. And then he is such a twat. He tells her, "Oh, you lived in mansions. Okay, stop. Like, don't be like, poor me. You lived in mansions." No, that was not a mansion. That was a beautiful, large home. But her own home was bigger and more beautiful. And it had a nasty red sofa. Of course, you know what I just did? I just got a new sofa today and it's kind of red. So my red sofa is classy. That one wasn't. Anyway, she ignores him, telling him that it's about how if he had just done what he finally did, which was get the hell out of her house to begin with, that he would have saved her all those payments if he was just gonna finally move out anyway, and she could have fixed everything with the house sooner. God, he's such an idiot. But no, he had to get the condo immediately because it's the nicest place in NoHo. And you know it's not going to stick around. She's like, no, excuse me. You just wanted to be next door to Schwartz. Thank you so much. I mean, duh. Just to live out his glory party days again. Sir, you are 45, 46. Ugh. She tells him she doesn't care about his condo, but he is desperate to correct her that it's a townhouse. It will always be a condo to me now, Jax. And who the fuck cares? Anyway, he then has added a second, even tinier violin to really drive home how sad he is. Pretty soon, he's going to have a full little miniature orchestra. So he's got two little tiny violins, like, oh, look, I'm so sad. That he can't let go of over a decade of his life, and that she's who he thought he was going to spend the rest of his life with. And again, duh, she tells him she thought the same thing. Well, at least we've come to our senses here, Kentucky Muffin. He thought she'd want to see what it was like for them when he got out of rehab. And she recalls for him that he was rage texting her the whole time. And here is a prime example. I want y'all to pay attention and remember this from all the years with Jax Ass Taylor. Okay. This is a prime example of his definition of honesty. He's so stupid. He cries it was only 2 weeks. He rage texted her, but she has to point out for him that it was only 2 weeks because after those 2 weeks, she blocked his ass so he couldn't continue to rage text her, then love bomb her, etc. Which she tells him those were the best 2 weeks of her life that he was blocked, that she was having fun going out with her friends. And he finishes her sentence by saying, hooking up with guys. Oh, I despise you. Jason Coochie. He then plays nonchalance that she can do whatever she's got to do, so it's whatever. Then why did you say that? God. So she asks him point blank, oh, okay, so if you don't care and it's cool, she's like, so you're going to sign the papers then? And then he says, I'm going to have my lawyer look at it or have a lawyer look at it. She questions the fact that he still hasn't even had an attorney look at the divorce papers. And he starts to say, I'm going to wait up until the last minute, but instead says day. I'm going to wait up until the last day. And she's like, why? Yeah. Why? You spawn of Lucifer. His answer is just because. Just because. Why not? I Ooh. I mm. Violence is never the answer. I know. I know it's not. But, I can think of many ways we could ensure that Jax would need another nose job. I Oh my God. Man, fuck this guy. I'm sorry. I'm cursing a lot this episode. I am sorry. But oh my God. Oh my God. What is wrong? You guys, I have to take a break. Give me a second. I gotta breathe because I'm gonna be screaming into this microphone if I don't stop for a second. Okay, hold on. One sec. BRB. Okay, I feel better because I know that Brittany's about to actually have a kind of iconic confessional, at least for me, in my opinion. Okay. So after he says just because, why not? About delaying the divorce papers and the divorce in general. In confessional, Brittany goes, Jax went from this person that was my best friend to this person that I loathe. He makes me so angry. I mean, his pores are greasy, his cheeks are greasy, his forehead's greasy, his veins popping out of his head. I just notice everything now. Whenever I was madly in love with this man, I had my blinders on. And now I just see like this crazy man child. Yes, 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 yes. Because you know what also is like in my head is like the new Sabrina Carpenter song, Man Child. Now it's like greasy man child. Why you always come around on me? Okay, anyway. Nia is at the bar ordering a mocktail when Janet comes up to her and they compliment each other. Okay, cute. With Janet telling her that she's aware things have not been great between them. Oh, you don't say. You accused her husband of sexual assault, but which wasn't totally off base, but at the same time, my God. And that if Nia wants to talk about anything with her, she can. She's there to listen. And then she admits in confessional that she owes Nia a conversation or even an apology because she knows she's caused Nia some pain and that she doesn't believe Nia deserves the pain that has come from this situation. Okay, but if you cause Danny pain, you are also going to cause Nia pain. How it worked for causing Jason pain with the ring rumor, okay, true or not, and you know, then it can't possibly also cause everyone in that family pain. You're such a hypocritical asshole, Janet. What can I say? Nia tells her she needs some space right now, but in confessional, she says, no, I don't actually need space. I just straight up don't want to talk. And honestly, I feel that Janet's actions are unforgivable at this point. The party is carrying on with Jesse asking Kristen to sage him, and she tells him, yes, I love saging a bitch. He's just like, did you just call me a bitch? And that is a good old VPR throwback of her saging Stassi and only enraging the demon inside of Stassi at her party that Bo's mom came to. Remember when Bo's mom, the therapist, and they were all talking about the lizard brain? Gosh, those were the days. Best days of our lives. Jesse, Luke, and Kristen chat with Jesse, getting emotional over getting emotional over the divorce, the financial shit he's going through, and being a single father. And he does admit in confessional his concerns are actually losing the house, losing custody, and his friends. Well, you rent, so you could always break the lease, Jesse. Anyhow, while Danny is telling Nia that he's having his seventh water with lemon, Jax is rage watching from across the balcony, judging Danny, expecting him to be drinking alcohol. And it's the idea of Danny drinking alcohol that is making Jax so angry as he is drinking alcohol and clearly drunk. And he fully seems to be, in my opinion, having pasta at this time as well. Clearly, I'm talking about Jax. He's pissed, saying Danny needs to own his shit. Aaron is quite, guess what? Startled, shocked by this. At least what he's conveying. His eyes, they say the eyes are the window to the soul, and his soul is quite terrified. Mm. He says that Danny is the sweet, Aaron does, that Danny is the sweetest guy in the world when he's sober, which Jack says, oh, well, guess what? So was Jeffrey Dahmer. Okay. All right. Am I right, boys? Jason tells him that's a no. So Jax goes on about how maybe he means Ted Bundy because that guy, Ted Bundy, that was a real charming mother effer. Am I right? Okay. Only Only you, Jax. Only you. Everyone around the party can hear some of what he's saying, and Janet is asking Michelle, Brittany, and Sheena if Ted Bundy is the one who chopped a bunch of people up, and Sheena's confused, saying, he killed a bunch of women. Yeah. Brittany says in confessional that if anyone there is like Ted Bundy or Jeffrey Dahmer, it's Jax. And bingo, that's a bingo. Jesse asks Jax if he's talked to Danny, and Jax notices that Danny isn't holding a drink. So he's mad when he's holding one, mad when he's not. Oh my God. He points out him having empty free hands, saying, guy's playing it real cool with no drinks in his hand. He got called out and he's worried about his look. Next week, guarantee he's going to be getting effed up again. As he's damn near knocking over this table with a water cooler because he's so shit-faced himself. He says it's all a game for Danny and that it's all show, which Jesse says, well, okay, you need to say that to him and not me. God, Jesse was made for reality TV, and anyone who says otherwise, I don't know what to tell you. In confessional, Jesse questions if it's that Jax is actually angry about Danny's drinking or if it's that he has this huge chip on his shoulder and he needs to expose dark side Danny, which he doesn't understand why he does, but he thinks he's actually angry about doesn't know if he's actually angry about Danny's drinking or more so that everyone thinks everything in Danny's world is so perfect. Well, his isn't. Jax stomps on over to Danny, who was just talking with Brock, and it's pretty clear a producer told Brock, like, scram, get out of here. They're filming a scene. Get your freaking... Get your bleached ass hair out of here. Blocking the shot, Brock. That big old noggin. Anywho, Jax literally is just looking like he bathed in pasta at this point. And Danny points out he's been sipping on water and that Jax has had some get-togethers that he feels he's excluded him from intentionally. With the addition that when Jax was questioned at these get-togethers about not inviting Danny, that he said, who cares? He's probably out getting drunk somewhere. So Jax's defense here is that he wasn't saying Danny's a bad father, but that he's a terrible drunk. I mean, from what it sounds like, it does not sound like Danny is a good drunk. Gosh, guys, I'm having a hard time talking today. Anyway, that does crack Danny up because Jax, well, he doesn't have a leg to stand on. And I don't know why Jax is so baffled by this statement, fresh out of rehab and drinking, but okay. Claiming that he's not a terrible drunk. He just has an anger issue that he allows alcohol to exacerbate, but okay. Danny doesn't let it slide and tells him, actually, no, douche Magoo, you are. You go on rages. And now it's tit for tat with Jax saying Danny has been kicked out of his bar for touching girls inappropriately twice. Danny starts to say, I have dealt with those. And then he says those. And then he goes, not twice, once. And that it was a year ago. And Danny is trying to talk, but Jax keeps steamrolling him. So Danny asks him if he's allowed to even speak in what is supposed to be a conversation with Jax. Jax says, yeah, but I'm still talking because I'm the number one guy in the group. I'm the alpha male here, Danny. I'm the alpha. So Danny's just like, all right, dude, just do what you do, bro. Hijack the whole conversation. Like, okay. And Jax then goes on and on and on about how Danny likes to think he lives in this fantasy fairy tale world that he and Nia are protected. He says that a lot. It's weird and perfect, and that they're protected and they're just so scared everyone's going to find out what's actually going on behind closed doors. And Danny is so taken aback by this whole take from Jax of all people. But yeah, all right. Nia has been listening in on this, and I'm with her that I would not have been able to keep my mouth shut if I saw Jax coming at my partner like this. I would have been over there so fast, whether my partner could fight their own battles or not. I would have been there in a heartbeat. Thank you so much. She walks up, and Jax tells her he's had to call her to pick up Danny from the bar multiple times, but she reminds Jax that she's actually almost accidentally hit him with her car when he was stumbling around in the street. Okay, so I just think, how about Jax and Danny, neither of y'all drink alcohol? How about that? Okay. I really feel like this whole thing is both Jax raging on pasta, that Danny gets away with things because he's a nice guy when he's sober, but Jax can't get away with his shitty behavior while under the influence because he's a complete asshole and abusive prick when he's sober. Mhm. And the other of what's happening, okay? So that's one half. The other half is that Jax is singing for his supper to stay on the show after being gone for 30 days, thinking everyone would only be talking about him, missing him being a part of the action, causing drama for them. And when he found out they did just fine without him, he realized he was on the chopping block. That's why he kept asking, "You guys miss me? Brittany, did you guys miss me? What was it not the same without me? You still need me here, right? You still need me to be a dick on TV, right?" You know that's what it was. You know. But Jax tries to say that Nia is lying and making things up, living in a fairy tale world. Like, I miss America. And that is the wrong system, you asshole. Which Nia's like, okay, wrong pageant, but whatever. As Kristen finally comes over to save the day. And why none of the men there have even stepped in to just kind of be like, okay, not even take sides, but just be like, let's chill it out a little bit is beyond me, but okay. You know what? Actually, it's because they're all afraid of Jax because he takes things too far. That's why. Jax almost seems to me, in my opinion, like he's in kind of a manic state. The way he's talking about how he thinks Danny and Nia believe they are quote unquote protected. Danny calls Jax psychotic, which Jax is like, psychotic? Me? The person who spies on my estranged wife through cameras in our home and then fakes having a heart attack so that she'll feel bad for me, and the person who throws a coffee table at her while my 4-year-old who has autism is in the next room, the guy who rages and punches holes in the wall, all of it, me, psychotic? Oh, what? Anywho, Kristen makes Jax go take a walk. And after that, Danny is still talking to Nia, saying that Jax is not only a narcissist, but that he also sleeps with his staff at Jax's. And that apparently, or allegedly, Brittany is aware of this. And this is something Danny has heard allegedly from multiple people. Danny's still going off to Nia because he just got like ambushed and yelled at for no good reason from Jax. You know, if someone wanted to come over and ambush him and yell at him, that it would make more sense for it to be Jasmine and Melissa, quite frankly. Anywho, he's going off because he's still, adrenaline's still going, but Nia keeps trying to get him to shut up. And this is the thing, I do wish Nia wouldn't do that because it's only giving fuel to the shit that Jax was saying. Let him be himself in front of these cameras. It's going to come out eventually. Nia, I love you. I get it. You're used to keeping the pageant persona, keeping a certain look about you. But it's going to come out eventually. So if he wants to rant for a second, it's okay. He's not going to lose jobs for going off on him. It's the things that Jax is saying. Okay. Anyway, Brock looks over at Brittany and he's like, how were you able to do this for so long with Jax? And she's like, I don't even know. Jax goes over to the bar and orders a vodka on the rocks. Oh my God. I am dying just thinking about this. Never, ever in a million years. Nope, no way. I would be vomiting even smelling that shit. Oh. Nia is being a little weird about this now, and I love her so much. I do. But I don't like what she's doing at this moment because it's making her and Danny look even worse when she's reminding him, Daniel, there are cameras here. You're saying this on camera. Stop doing that. You're on a reality show. If you don't want that, then don't be on the show. And I want you on the show. So please just let it happen. You can be yourself. Everybody fights behind closed doors. Everyone gets mad. It's fine. It's fine. It's okay. But also there was some like random ass guy standing behind Danny as she tells him, that was on camera, Daniel. He's like, what do you mean? There are cameras everywhere. Now Kristen is yelling at Jax that he doesn't know what goes on in Danny and Nia's home. And we're getting split screens of this disaster of a Zen party now. And Danny's telling Nia he's exhausted after not sleeping and being with 3 kids all day while she got glam. Okay, heard the resentment, but sir, if you only knew how much it takes to be us and look like humans, okay? We split over to Michelle, who is yelling at Jessie about not asking her about how her very, very sick mother is doing. And she's right, by the way, but he's telling her, oh, it's not his place to ask about her mother. Jessie, yes, it is. Even if y'all are at each other's throats, you absolutely should be asking her. That is Isabella's grandmother, just as freaking Michelle just said. Come on. Y'all were doing so much better. Damn it. Anyway, now we're back over to Sheena asking Zach about hearing that he and Kristen are saying she brought Jenna around just to upset Michelle. Okay. But the winning scene is going to go over to Sheena, Zach, Kristen, Michelle, and Janet. Sheena asks Kristen if she's saying that she brought Jenna around to hurt Michelle, which obviously Kristen denies because considering Kristen is who invited her to her housewarming party where we met her for the first time on this show. Because remember, Jenna has been on Vanderpump Rules before, okay? And then God bless, Kristen got it wrong by saying that it was Sheena and Janet El Coyote claiming that Kristen is the one who was doing that. No, it was Janet insinuating that. Sheena didn't say anything. Sheena has really only said 5 words this whole season, and 3 of them were salmon sperm facial. Sorry. Anyway, okay. Oh, Jesus. Zach is drunkety drunk, saying that it's not Jenna who is the problem, but Janet. And further proving he's sauced, he accidentally takes a drink of what I think is actually Janet's wine, of all the people, too. Janet runs because she's made it clear that if it's a moment where it is fight or flight, she will grow wings and fly. In confessional, Zach points out Janet's behavior and how she makes attempts at burning people's reputations to the ground, referring to his own and Danny's. Now, here's the thing. After seeing some of Zach's behavior here, where he is this, slobberknocked, I do believe he said some really, really shitty things about Janet last year at the final party. Do I think he took it as far as Janet says? I don't know. It's something about the way Janet will repeat things that people said that she didn't like. It sounds very different than how they said it. And I don't know if it's just because I don't like Janet, but that's just me. Anyway. And in confessional, I'm sorry. So Kristen is like, okay, you're sauced. You're no help. I'm sending you away. I got this. I just let mama handle it. And Janet in confessional questions how any of this is on her because it was Kristen who invited Janet to the housewarming party and Zach who invited Jenna to Benji's party. And that's what it is. You numbnuts, all of you. It's a miscommunication. That's not what they're saying you're doing. They're saying you are perpetuating the narrative that their friendship and inclusion of this girl, Jenna, is purely to torment Michelle when they have been friends with her for years. And you fucking know that, Janet. God, you're a fan. You should know. And then, oh my God, Zach, I do love you. I do. But you are being quite aggressive. Too much. The way he goes over to Brittany, grabbing her shoulder while she's talking to Danny, Nia, Luke, and Benji. I mean, the look on their faces when he comes stomping over says a lot. But he tells her, if you literally ever have her back again, I'm literally over that. He has to tell her he's talking about Janet because this was completely out of nowhere. And this is as we cut to Janet telling Michelle that she is going to refuse to let Kristen talk after threatening to beat her up and calling her a whore. Sorry. Bad, Kristen. Bad. Anyway. Zach is slurring so much at Brittany that Janet is so like Jax. It's crazy. Oh my God. Zach, this was too far. Because then he asks Brittany, are you like under the same spell that you were under with like Jax? Oh my God. Oh my God. Zach, no, that was too much. And then he starts making me cackle because he is looking at her with those Michelle's boyfriend, Aaron, bulging eyes. And he is dead ass serious. And he goes, I'm serious. She's going to cut off your skin and she's going to wear it. It puts the pumptini on its skin, or else it gets the hose again. Anyhow, as Michelle is trying to get Kristen to start by apologizing to Janet for calling her a whore and threatening to beat her up, Kristen goes, "If that's all I said, then that's really nice." Because, guys, come on, it's Kristen Louise Doty. She is taken worse and dished worse. Be so for real. I'm not saying it's right, but it's true. Janet's going off saying, calling me a whore and threatening to beat me up. Jason, did you hear? Is nice. Jason, call the manager. Kristen goes over to her and is at the very least trying here. She says, listen, I said some shitty ass things. And she keeps getting cut off with Michelle telling her to apologize, which is what she's trying to do. And even when Kristen says, I'm sorry for saying shitty things, Janet won't receive anything and says to her, like, oh, saying and doing shitty things is just what you do. Janet, shut up. Kristen is like, we were literal best friends. And Janet goes, we were. But Kristen's saying, okay, look, I'm trying to get you to realize you know me and you know that I say colorful and kind of shitty things when I get mad. And then it goes a little left when Kristen says, if you took that seriously, oh, no, Mary Posa, it's not about whether she took it seriously or not, though. It upset her. And, that's it. It would upset a lot of people. Okay, it would. I mean, even if they know you, it would upset them. Let's be honest here. Okay. I mean, I'm not sure that, it was something to be taken seriously or not. I mean, yeah, she took the I'm going to knock her out part seriously, but I don't think she could, if she took the calling her a horse seriously part, I mean, that's stupid. But, anyway, now Janet compares Kristen to Jax. Okay, not the same. Janet asks her if she feels bad for calling her a whore, threatening to beat her up, and calling her a fan. And Kristen says, this is the thing. This was smart on Kristen's part because she doesn't feel bad. She says, if it upset you, then yeah. And Janet's like, of course, it upset me. And then she asks Kristen if it would upset her if someone called her a whore and threatened to beat her ass. Baby, you know this, Janet. That was season 2 of Vanderpump Rules. That was season 3 and 4 of Vanderpump Rules. Probably 5 and 6 as well. Give me a break. And I'm just kind of cracking up at Kristen being like, no, not really, but we're different. So that's fine. And Jason tries to say that if he called Kristen a whore and said he was going to beat her ass, it would upset her. But you are a man, Jason. It's a totally different scenario. Anyway, now we're tit for tat on what each person did or didn't do to screw the other over this summer. And the last, and that's regarding Kristen saying Janet told Zach Michelle was a racist Republican last summer. And this summer, Kristen bringing up the ring rumor with Jason. And Janet has been going hard to Kristen at this because now Kristen asks her if you just cannot stand me and you are so pissed at me and you despise me so much, then why have you been licking my booty hole all summer? And the look on Janet's face, I'm sorry, I gagged her with that one. Gagged her up. And Jason says Kristen can't weaponize Janet trying to make things good with her, but it's not for the boys to get involved. So be gone, Jason. Go, 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 go. In confessional, Janet's like, I feel good walking away from Kristen because she at least gave it my all. Listen, I think Kristen and Janet are oil and water. Kristen is free-spirited. She's loosey-goosey. She's going to say what she doesn't mean. She's going to say what she means and thinks and feels for this very second. And that's just not Janet. Doesn't have to be. And then, oh, Jesus. Zach, baby, drink some water. He's now crying to Brittany, saying he's got to stop letting Janet win. And Brittany just looks like a deer in headlights in this moment because she's unaware, but Zach is giving sarcastic, bitchy, bye, as Janet and Jason are leaving. But Brittany tells him to stop, and he's like, no, like, F you, whore. At Janet, oh my God, Zachary, what is happening? What is happening? It prompts Janet and Jason to come back and confront him, with Jason saying he's not going to be talking to Zach anyway right now when each of his eyes are looking opposite directions because he is schmammered. Oh, God. And then, oh my fucking God, Zach. What? He is crying. And Brock comes up to him and tells him to take a breath with that bleach blonde Kiwi built butch body. Help it. And if you know, you know. Zach is literally crying and goes, bitch, I will hit you. Okay. Okay. Brock, thank God, does not fall for what's going on and stays calm. Because here's the thing, if it were Jax, it would be a whole different story. Jason tells Janet that Zach's eyes were looking crazy right as it pans over to him, going, Brittany tells Zach, don't do that, please, which, dear Lord, he is fully breaking down. And he says that sometimes he needs support too, and that sometimes he needs Brittany's support too. And he's not even able to speak. He's so in his throat crying. Now he screams at Brittany, that's all I want. And y'all know, I don't use that word, that verb of screaming very lightly. I don't like it when people say people are screaming if they're not, but that's screaming to me. Jasmine explains to Brittany that Zach is wanting the same support that Janet gets from her, as Benji is trying to very gently touch Zach and be gentle with him. And he's screaming at him. Stop. Stop. Jesus, dude, take a breather. And now he's crying to Benji that nobody understands him. And Zach has to bend his entire tall ass body in half to hug on Benji and lay his head on his shoulder. And we eventually end with Zach screaming for a napkin so he can wipe his eyes and blow his nose in a little tissue. What a wonderful shit show. Especially, like, we did not need Jax. And I think I will say that till the cows come home, my friends. And I know we're getting the reunion next week and finding out that Jax is friends with Kim Zolciak Bierman and talked to her the day before the reunion taped. Like, the thirst knows no bounds with that woman. Anywho, besties, just a reminder, it is now called Besties by Caitlin, not Besties by Bravo, because, well, I don't know. We came together and it's the besties community created by me. Okay. There we go. All right. If you are feeling generous today, could you please do me a favor and leave me a 5-star review with a comment about what you do love about the show? It means the world, and it is the best and free way you can support this show. Thank you so much in advance. I'm giving you a big bestie hug for that. Could you also go give me a follow on social media? It's at Besties by Caitlin, Caitlin, on Instagram, TikTok, and on YouTube. If you're watching YouTube, please be sure and subscribe, like the video, do all the things. And besties, I hope you have the most wonderful, fabulous weekend. Say prayers for me that I don't turn out like a chipmunk after the sculpture. Oh my God. Anyway, I will see you next week. Or you'll hear from me next week because hopefully my face isn't looking crazy. Anyway, love you so much, besties. Thanks again for joining. Bye.